Newcastle's side in the FA Cup against Bromley on Saturday looked a lot like Eddie Howe's preseason audition squad. Who passed and who failed? Watch on to find out. Hello, everybody, and welcome out to the Newcastle United Digest, the channel delivering you Toon content in bite-sized chunks. My name is Adam Snyder, and on this episode, I will be going over how Newcastle did in the FA Cup third-round match against Bromley. And in this episode, I'll be talking about how we did in the 3-1 victory against Bromley, how those squad and youth player auditions went, and I'll also give you my ratings by position. As I mentioned before, Newcastle did beat Bromley 3-1 in the FA Cup third round, and it was a little bit of a shaky start. Once things got going and once some subs were made, things did turn around, and as a result, Newcastle will be playing away to Birmingham City in the fourth round in the second week of February. And quickly going over the goals, the scoring opened up in the 8th minute, but once again, it was not a Newcastle goal. Just like the match against Spurs, we did concede early. Bromley scored in the 8th minute where the keeper played long, and there was not a great challenge on the 50-50. Bromley did well to block out Lloyd Kelly as well, while somebody else got a flick, and then that ball made it into one of Bromley's midfielders, who unleashed a perfect shot in the low left-hand corner. And Marty Dubravka did get a hand to it, but it looked like he was screened and unfortunately was not able to get to the ball in time. So the two players that were kind of at fault for this one were, in my opinion, Lewis Miley and Sean Longstaff. Both of them were in proximity of the ball that dropped after the flick, and neither one of them could recover the ball, and neither one of them could get a tackle. Lewis Miley made a second attempt before the shot got off, but he was unable to make a tackle and strip the ball before the goal went in. It was definitely one of those instances where the entire team was caught napping, but those two, but Miley and Longstaff, Trippier was in the vicinity, but really couldn't do a whole lot. Lloyd Kelly was blocked out, like I mentioned. So a lot of it falls on them, but, I'll put the blame on this one mainly on Miley and Longstaff because they were the ones who made the most effort to try to get the ball back. Not long after that, in the 16th minute, Lewis Miley made up for the mistake in the 8th minute and unleashed an absolute rocket into the right-hand side netting. The initial chance fell to Asulo. He did well to bring the ball across the penalty area. I thought he might have held onto the ball for just a little too long, and he was tackled in the penalty area, and I thought there might have been a penalty shout. The ball made it into the left-hand corner and was worked out to the outside to Lewis Miley, and he was ready and willing and able to unleash a worldie. And the shot was not only powerful, but very, very accurate. It made its way through several Bromley defenders with absolute precision. There's no way anybody's going to get to that ball. And just like that, not long after we conceded a really cheap goal, we made it 1-1. We had a couple of opportunities in the first half, but it did end up 1-1 going into halftime. In the 47th minute, Matty Target was able to get the ball, made a run across the penalty area, and he gets tripped near the penalty spot, and immediately the ref points to the spot. It took a couple minutes for things to get settled down, but ultimately Anthony Gordon stepped up to the spot, placed the ball down, and perfect placement, just like that, 2-1 in the 49th minute, and we are off and running. And in the 61st minute, Will Osula opened up his Newcastle scoring account with a beauty of a goal. He took the ball on the right-hand side from a long ball from Bruno, very reminiscent of the balls that he's been providing Isak all season long, and Will Osula knew just what to do with it. Streaked down the right-hand side, got close to the penalty area, made a couple of really great moves, and beat a couple of Bromley defenders, and was able to unleash a great shot, far post, side netting, 3-1, game over. Absolutely fantastic goal to open up your Newcastle scoring account. What a goal. I'm hoping that opens up some opportunities for him to get some more playing time as the season winds down. And that play leads us right into what I thought were our squad and youth player auditions in this game. Eddie Howe made 9 changes to this side. The only players that remained from our last match were Martin Dubravka and Joe Linton. Everybody else was new. In the back, you had Kieran Trippier on at right back. Center backs were Fabian Schär returning from suspension, Lloyd Kelly, and Matty Target on the left wing. In midfield, you had Joe Linton, Lewis Miley, and Sean Longstaff. Up front, you had Harvey Barnes, Will Asula, and Miggy Almiron. Of the 9 players that were brought into the squad, I genuinely thought that 5 of them, plus one of the subs that was made in the second half, were under audition to see whether or not these are players that we should keep, or if they're one of our youth players, should be brought into the first team more often, or if they're part of our first team squad, should they remain in the squad? Should we consider selling them? Should we do something? And I think that we had 3 players that passed and we had 3 players that failed, in my opinion. The first one I think passed was Will Asula. He is in a really, really tough spot right now. Yes, Callum Wilson's injured, but he's still sitting right behind the greatest striker in the Premier League right now, especially in the form that Alexander Isak's in. He doesn't get a lot of opportunities to show what he's capable of, and today he did that well with not only his hold-up play, with his creativity around the penalty area, and he also showed what he can do on the wing with this goal that he scored. If we end up selling Miggy Almiron, he could prove to be a capable backup to Jacob Murphy on the right wing, or be a backup to Isak if the big Swede needs the rest as well. Another player that I thought passed with flying colors was Lewis Miley. Yes, he was part of the problem that led to Bromley's first goal, but he did well to brush himself off and carry on and continue with the game plan that Eddie Howe laid out for him. He did a fantastic job to score the equalizer, but he did really well to distribute the ball and create some dangerous opportunities as well. The other one I thought that passed was Matty Target. It seems like Target has been one of those kind of forgotten names in the Newcastle squad, mainly because he's racked up about as much time in the training tables as Callum Wilson. He has been injured quite a bit since he came over to Newcastle, and he's just now starting to show what he's truly capable of on both sides of the ball, including the play where he drew the penalty in the second half, leading to Gordon's goal. On the flip side, there were 3 players I thought that failed their audition. The first one was, I hate to say this, but it was Sean Longstaff. The Geordie midfielder has not been able to consistently stay in form or ready for the opportunities when they arise. He was dropped earlier this season because of some lackluster play and some kind of careless defending in transition and when he was on the defensive side of the ball. And we kind of saw a lot of that play again today. He was not able to contribute positively to the game, in my opinion. He was kind of slow to make decisions on the ball, and I do kind of blame him partially for the Bromley goal. Another squad player that I think failed his audition was Miggy Almiron. The more I see Almiron play this season, the more and more I think it's time for him to move on. He's kind of become the shadow of the player that he once was and what we've seen and grown to love over the years. And his trajectory kind of reminds me of Musa Sissoko's. Like Sissoko, he once had a lot of pace and he was able to use it. And he was able to make things happen with quick passing and intelligent runs in addition to that pace. Today, we didn't see the quick passing and the intelligent runs. And it's unfortunate because he was playing alongside somebody that he's used to making these plays with, and that's Kieran Trippier. When Miggy had his purple patch, he was one of the big contributors of a lot of the goals that Miggy scored was Trippier. The other one was Bruno, who was on the bench for a lot of time that Miggy was playing, but at least having one familiar face nearby him should have been something that would have helped him and get him settled and allowed him to play his game. Unfortunately, that was not the case. We didn't see the quick passing. We didn't see the intelligent runs. And it seemed like he was almost hesitating a bit too much on what to do whenever he had with the ball. This reminds me of Musa Sissoko toward the end of his Newcastle career, where once he carried the ball in the offensive third, he would freeze and not know what to do, and he would get stripped, or he'd make the wrong decision, and we'd get dispossessed, and the opponent would just march right back down the field. The other player that I thought failed, and this is not a bad thing, was substitute Trevin Sanusi. The 17-year-old did well to impress in preseason, and a lot of people are wondering, when are we going to see him in the first team? And I think today was one of those times where it makes sense why we haven't seen him more often. He did show off his bag of tricks, and And he did bring a lot of the vibes that the mercurial Frenchman did bring when he was playing for us. The bag of tricks were good, but the opportunities created from those bag of tricks just never surfaced. He looked like he was trying to impress a little bit too much, taking one or two extra touches in most cases. I hope he gets an opportunity to go on loan and get some first team football, because I think that the more he gets that first team playing time and he gets that coaching at a first team level on when to cross the ball versus when to make a move, I think if he can learn that and improve his crossing, he will be Alan St. Maximin 2.0, and we will have a really, really massive problem on our hands in a good way in terms of depth at left wing. Now that I've covered the goals and I've covered what I thought were Eddie Howe's additions in this game, let's go over my ratings by position. At goalkeeper, I'm going to give Marty Dubravka an 8 out of 10. Dubs didn't have a whole lot to do this game, but he did give up a goal. Even though he is screened, I think he'll want that one back. Everything else, including his distribution, was top notch. In defense, I'm going to give them an 8 out of 10 for this one. The Bromley goal was partially Lloyd Kelly's fault because he was boxed out on the 50-50 header, and that left Longstaff, Miley, and Trippier to attempt a recovery. On the offensive side, Target and Trippier were decent at getting some dangerous balls into the box, and Target did very well to draw the penalty that led to the second goal. And you know what? Lloyd Kelly did pretty decent whenever he had the opportunity to jump in the attack as well. So props to him for doing that and getting into the play and doing well. And at midfield, I'm going to give them a 6 out of 10 for this game. Both Longstaff and Miley were unable to prevent the first goal, despite Miley desperately trying to make a tackle twice. Miley did well to recover and had a good performance after this, and Big Joe was as solid as always. Longstaff just didn't look like he was in the right form to play in this game. And like I mentioned before, he looked very similar to the style of play and the quality of play that got him dropped earlier this season. Things did turn around when Bruno was introduced, and the midfield dominance improved after that. Now, forwards for me, it's kind of a tricky one because it was a tale of two halves, in my opinion. I'm going to give them a 7 out of 10, but it was kind of touch and go for a little bit. Miggy Almiron's slow decision making on the right hand slide led to some potential missed opportunities, and Barnes just wasn't himself. It was later revealed that he picked up a thigh injury, and that's why he was subbed off at halftime. I got to give some props to Will Asula for opening as a scoring account with such a high quality effort, and Gordon did well to inject some much needed pace and quick decision making on the left hand side. And he also did well to contribute to the set piece score, which is a 7 out of 10. We did create a couple of good opportunities from dead ball opportunities, but they didn't result in goals. On the plus side, Anthony Gordon did well to convert from the penalty spot to make it 2-1. So for that reason and everything else, I'm going to give them a 7 out of 10. And for Eddie Howe's subs, I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 for this game. The subs I thought were made at just the right time, and the tactics deployed with these subs worked out very well. It was nice to see Sanusi get some time. It was nice to see Miley get a lot of minutes this game. And it was good that Sanusi got some minutes in a relatively low pressure situation when we were already up 3-1. And the senior side players that were used as subs this game were used well to inject some normalcy back into the squad and ensure that we moved on to the fourth round of the FA Cup. Overall, I'm going to give this performance an 8.7 out of 10. This was a good audition for some of those fringe players in our squad, as well as some of our youth stars. While they didn't all pass, the senior lads did well to ensure that we do move on to the fourth round of the FA Cup. And that will do it for this episode of the Newcastle United Digest. And if you did like this video, be sure to like it. And if you are not please subscribe to the channel by hitting the button below, and also hit the notification bell to be notified when I release new videos. Coming up is another tough test at midweek against Wolves, and I'll be back with a reaction after that match. And if you're wondering why I didn't release a reaction video to the 2-0 win against Arsenal at midweek, we had a wave of sickness hit my family. I came down with pretty nasty cold, which turned into a low-grade fever, and then both my kids also developed some fevers over the weekend as well. So we've been on the mend for the last few days. We're on the up and up now, and I will be back at full strength, ready to give you my reaction to what I'm hoping will be a 9th win on the bounce against Wolves on Wednesday. So until next time, Adam Snyder for the Newcastle United Digest saying, "Ahoy the lads, bye for now."